ومن الناس من يتخذ من دون الله أندادا يحبونهم كحب الله والذين آمنوا أشد حبا لله ولو يرى الذين ظلموا إذ يرون العذاب أن القوة لله جميعا وأن الله شديد العذاب
আর কোন লোক এমনও রয়েছে যারা অন্যান্যকে আল্লাহর সমকক্ষ সাব্যস্ত করে এবং তাদের প্রতি তেমনি ভালোবাসা পোষণ করে যেমন আল্লাহর প্রতি ভালোবাসা হয়ে থাকে। কিন্তু যারা আল্লাহর প্রতি ঈমানদার তাদের ভালোবাসা ওদের তুলনায় বহুগুণ বেশি। আর কতই না উত্তম হতো যদি এ জালিমরা পার্থিব কোনো আযাব প্রত্যক্ষ করেই উপলব্ধি করে নিত যে যাবতীয় ক্ষমতা শুধুমাত্র আল্লাহরই জন্য এবং আল্লাহর আযাবই সবচেয়ে কঠিনতর।
And if Allah has created all of these things and He's beautified them and He's created me, and Allah boasts in the Quran, He created the human being in the best possible form, you become in love with Allah Azza wa Jal because how honored He's made you and me as a creation. You develop a love for Him. After this clear thought process is something intellectual, but that conclusion leads you to love. It makes you love Allah Azza wa Jal. So the next ayah describes this. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَتَّخِذُ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ أَنْدَادًا يُحِبُّونَهُمْ كَحُبِّ اللَّهِ. Among the people you'll find, shockingly you'll find people that set up competitors right next to Allah, besides Allah. Loving them like they should be loving Allah. Loving competitors like they should be loving Allah. What in the world does that mean, loving competitors? It's not just people, shirk. Some ulama commented a very scary commentary actually. Shirkun fil hubb. Shirk in love. In other words, Allah deserves to be loved more than anything else. And everything else that we love in dunya should submit to the love of Allah. But when it doesn't, when our love of other stuff starts competing with the love of Allah, that's what this ayah is talking about. That's because you haven't really clearly thought about who Allah is. Someone who realizes, who thinks about who Allah is, will have no choice but to love Him. Someone who hasn't given it serious thought will find other things to love. And they'll love other things the way they should be loving Allah. But then Allah says, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. Those who have iman, those who've come to the faith, who use their intellect to come to the right conclusion, that conclusion is iman. They are intense in terms of their love for Allah. They're strong, they're severe, intense, powerful in their shiddah, in their love for Allah. SubhanAllah, very powerful statement. Their love for Allah becomes strong. On the one hand, and this is also a really interesting dilemma in Western society, we separate intellectual pursuit from emotional pursuit. In other words, somebody can understand something intellectually, but they're still not emotionally attached to it at all. They have no emotional attachment to it. For example, you can have somebody who studies Islam even in Western academia, even a Muslim, can study it for years and years and years and not love it at all. They'll know a lot about it, but not love it. The believer, Allah is telling us, the more he understands his deen, the more what happens naturally with him. The more he loves it. The more he becomes in love with his deen, in love directly with Allah Azza wa Jal. It's a direct consequence. So our intellectual growth is actually directly tied to our emotional attachment. And if you find yourself, and this is a serious warning for myself and other students of knowledge, if you find yourself growing intellectually but not in your love for Allah, then maybe you're not really learning. Maybe there's something seriously wrong. Because we're supposed to be becoming emotionally more and more attached to Allah Azza wa Jal. Ashaddu hubban lillah. And so on the other hand, the wrongdoers, and we'll conclude with that, وَلَوْ يَرَى الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا إِذْ يَرَوْنَ الْعَذَابَ أَنَّ الْقُوَّةَ لِلَّهِ جَمِيعًا. Had only those who have done wrong. In this ayah, مَا هُوَ الظُّلْمِ فِي هَذِهِ الْآيَةِ. What's the wrongdoing in this ayah? The wrongdoing in this ayah is loving the wrong things. الظُّلْمُ وَضْعُ الشَّيْءِ فِي غَيْرِ مَحَلِّهِ فِي غَيْرِ مَكَانِهِ. The wrongdoing in Arabic is put something where it doesn't belong. This ayah is about putting your love where it doesn't belong. Now Allah says those who did wrong, meaning those who ended up loving the wrong stuff in this world, how will it look when they're looking straight at the punishment? إِذْ يَرَوْنَ الْعَذَابَ. And then they realize أَنَّ الْقُوَّةَ لِلَّهِ جَمِيعًا. That power belongs to Allah altogether. Before that, in dunya, when they were invited towards Allah and they were reminded of Allah's power was not acting against them, so they had no respect for it. You know, like a criminal who doesn't get caught by the cops has no respect for the cops. But the moment they're close to getting caught, then they're, oh my God, what have I been doing? Who have I been messing with? Right? Now they get caught and they realize they were dealing with a very mighty power. That power that they should have loved, they violated his rights so much that now they get to taste his might. أَنَّ الْقُوَّةَ لِلَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعَذَابِ. And that Allah is very intense in taking punishment.